When you come into the house, there's a little vestibule with glass doors that you can see through. And I like having the little vestibule because it keeps it from getting too cold and means all the coats and shoes are just as you come in. And then when you open up into the main hallway, I've got this really funky wallpaper that I chose. The kitchen used to be a dark space, and when we decided to change it, either myself or the architect came up with the idea of doing a double height space. So as well as adding glazing around the house, what used to be our bedroom has now become a kind of almost like a church double height space with Velux windows, which means you can get a lot of natural light and you can see the sky and the trees. It just adds a bit of a drama, I suppose, to the kitchen. My name is Jo Holmes. I live in North Berwick with my husband and my 2 teenage girls who are 17 and 14. I work as a GP in Dunbar, which is about 11 miles, another seaside town along the coast. I spend a lot of time in here. I like cooking. Even if I'm not cooking, I'm tidying up and cleaning, so it's nice to have a nice space to be in. And also I like it big enough that everyone can gather. My daughter, she's in her 5th year, actually really quite likes studying in here, so she'll sit up at the breakfast bar and do some studying. The sofa means that the kids can lounge after school, so it's space for everyone to be together. My mum's always said to choose your sofa and then choose your fabric to match, I think because she thinks it's easier way round. But actually, in this living room, I brought the fabric for the blinds and curtains from the previous house because the fabric's no longer made, and I absolutely love this fabric. And by chance, I already had this lime green sofa, so then I was able to pair that with the turquoise sofa in the same style. That happens to be from John Lewis, but I'll just get things from wherever I see them. I was really quite pleased with the bookshelf divider in the living room because I felt the 2 spaces needed separated. I think I spotted that idea in a magazine, so I just copied it and then found something that would do the job for me. I have had coloured walls in the past, but I find that white walls are easier, and then I can choose the colour against the white. I think I've always found it quite difficult choosing wall colours, so I find it easier to do white the other way around and then add colour with my furnishings and curtains and keep the walls and floor fairly neutral. In a house, and often the clothes that I wear, I really love colour. I really can't stand these monotone environments. I know obviously that's some people like to have a house with grey and beige, but I have colour in every room. The utility room is a fairly functional room. You know, it's obviously where the washing machine is and where I keep my laundry. And I just thought it might be a bit fun to have a little bit of colour in that room because otherwise it's a fairly utilitarian space. I think the house was built in about 1960. Originally it was a much smaller house, and it also used to have bigger grounds. The next door house is a very old house in North Berwick, like from the 17 something or other, and apparently that was that house's orchard, and then obviously the land was sold. The garden has recently been redone because it had an old pond that had become completely overgrown, and some of the shrubbery was just, you couldn't actually get in to tend the garden, so that's recently been done. And now I really, really love the pond. Around about March, you get frogs coming back and laying their spawn. So if you're outside around about the end of March, you actually hear them ribbiting in the pond. So I love that. It's a kind of marker of the seasons passing. This is the first spring since we've done the work. And I was out clearing leaves and I noticed a frog jumped into my hand. So I'm pleased to see that there's certainly at least one frog come back. I actually even quite like raking the leaves out of the pond, although it's quite a bit of work. Because you can hear the waterfall, and I just like being in the garden because you can hear the birds. I just like being in the outdoors, really. And I've just put in a sauna. I've always really enjoyed saunas, and particularly since I've got into cold water swimming. It's so nice to have a warm sauna, and we've got a shower so you can heat up, cool down. So that's just a new thing, and I'm looking forward to inviting friends to spend time in the sauna with me. One of my chores that I actually like doing is hanging out laundry, because you get to go outside and I take great satisfaction in the laundry drying outside. I'm not very good at then putting it away in my wardrobe again, but I'm good at hanging it out. The patio is where I'll sit and have my breakfast by myself. In the weekends, it's nice if it's a sunny day. If someone's round for lunch, we can sit outside. We've actually inherited a parasol because it can get quite hot and sunny out there actually. So we've now got a parasol so we can shade ourselves if it's getting unusually hot for Scotland. I like being in the kitchen in the morning because it gets the morning sun. It's lovely and bright. Sometimes so bright I have to pull the curtains, but yeah, it's nice looking out into the sunshine. When we did the renovation, we actually went to a kitchen designer. He obviously asked us what we wanted, and I said I wanted a breakfast bar because we've had that before, and I really like just perching if there's just one of you at the breakfast bar. And I wanted a space for a dining room table because I like having people around for dinner, and I pretty much always eat my meal at a table. And we obviously needed the practical cooking area. I've always loved islands. When they're neat and tidy, they look so nice when they're all the counters nice and clean. I've always liked the idea of a seating area in the kitchen. It does mean if you've got guests, they can have a seat on the sofa if you're prepping in the kitchen, or sit up at the breakfast bar. And I like having the island because it means when you're prepping, I'm looking out into the kitchen and then out into the garden. I think it just makes it a nice space to be in and do my cooking and household chores. Because of this house layout change, some of the rooms are not a standard shape, and because we're into the eaves, it does have some challenges. So fitting everything into my daughter's bedroom, she's hardly got any flat walls, is a little bit challenging, but I suppose it adds interest. I've got two daughters. My younger daughter, Cara, enjoys spending far too much time on her phone. When she's not doing that, she loves doing drama. So she does musical theatre, and she also does pure drama, which doesn't involve singing. In between times, she loves seeing her friends, and she's endlessly badgering us to let her host parties in her downstairs garage room. My eldest daughter, Beth, is an avid reader. She absolutely loves books and has shelves and shelves of books in her bedroom. We do get some from the charity shops, but actually she really loves going to bookshops. So her relatives, for her birthday and Christmas, she normally has very little that she wants, but they just buy her a book token, and then she can go and choose her own books. Her Christmas present was a revolving bookcase. We thought we'd buy one that would fit more books, but she's already filled it with another 130 books that I think were hidden in cupboards. So now we have no space for any more books. I've always enjoyed carpets upstairs, I think because you're walking around bare feet and they're kind of warmer underfoot. So that's why we've ended up adding carpets in the upstairs. And I think a carpeted stairs is a wee bit quieter as well. I think if you have hard floors on the stairs, you're going to hear more noise than if you've got carpet. When we designed the bedroom, we were lucky that it's got windows on 3 sides. So it's a really lovely light space. And I love having all the natural light coming in. Although I don't actually spend that much time in the bedroom, but it is a very nice space to go into. And it's got quite a tranquil feeling. I do really like cooking. I do a fair amount of simple things. I cook a lot of soup because I think it's such an easy, nutritious lunch. So I'm always cooking different types of soup. And one of my daughters is vegetarian, so I cook a fair amount of vegetarian food actually. And I enjoy having people around for a meal, but I like it when it's all done in advance, so then you can make it and then you're not having to run around the kitchen when they're there. So I love making things that are ready-made, like a big vegetarian lasagna, and then you can just put it in the oven. And my husband is very much into wine, so if I concentrate on the food, he then pairs the food with the wine because he's become a bit of a wine snob, so he's got quite a kind of fancy taste in wine now. In terms of when I like to be in the house, I do really like being in the house myself during the day, particularly in the morning, because the sun comes into the kitchen and I can play my music really loud and, get on with cooking or tidying up the kitchen, ready for it to be messed up again. But it is a great social space, and I've actually held a few fundraising coffee mornings in our kitchen. So I've had about maybe 25, 30 people maybe in the kitchen and then spilling out onto the patio. Quite an easy way to raise money for charity. I'm not living in a show home, so I'm quite happy for it to be messy. It's really just about having a space that I like being in, the family like being in, and hopefully people enjoy when they come to visit.